Generally speaking, for-profit corporations are built to benefit their shareholders. On the other hand, nonprofits are built to benefit the public. As the name may suggest, for-profit corporations' main goal is the profit, whereas nonprofits, even though they're not forbidden from having an income, their main goal should be benefiting public, such as helping children, helping elderly, and there are many restrictions on type of activity nonprofits can have and also how their income can be used. Now, the words nonprofit and 501c3 are often used synonymously, but they're not the same. Nonprofit is simply the purpose of your corporation. So you may do charity and still be a corporation that pays taxes, whereas 501c3 is a very specific status given by the IRS, and it's exempts you from paying income tax. So it's very important to make the distinction, and therefore the process from becoming a 501c3 is a multi-step process. First, you must register your corporation or whatever entity you want to register. You can be an LLC too, with your state by filing either articles of incorporation if it's a corporation, or the appropriate form. For example, for LLC, you would file an article of organization. Now, you will also need to obtain an EIN number, and once the state approves it, you will need to present the articles of incorporation along with the form 123 to the IRS. Now, your articles of incorporation must specifically state that the purpose of your corporation or other entity is to be a nonprofit. Now, luckily, most states already have default forms for nonprofit, and we'll show you in a second how to fill that out without, generally speaking, hiring a lawyer, and you can present that to IRS directly. So let's look at how to file articles of incorporation for a nonprofit within the state. We'll choose California. We're going to go to bizfileonline.sos.ca.gov. You'll need to go through a registration process if you're not registered. So you're going to register a business. Here, you're going to choose nonprofit corporations initial filings. And generally speaking, you want to choose public benefit. Now, there are religious, there are others, but this is the more generic one. There's a $30 filing fee that you'll need to pay. Now, the filing is similar to the way you would file a for-profit. You have to acknowledge the privacy. You put your name as the submitter, your email, and your phone number. Now, if you reserve the name, you will say yes, otherwise say no. Here you choose the name. This name is available. Now you have to put an address, a mailing address too. Now, even nonprofits are supposed to have a registered agent. It can be either yourself, if you reside in the state you're filing, or you can hire someone. As with for-profit corporations, the registered agent must be available during business hours and must accept letters such as legal complaints. This is not regarding regular business mail, like if your bank sends you a letter, if you get a promotional letter, you don't have to open. However, if it's a legal servicing, the registered agent must accept it. Now here, and this is very important because as mentioned in the beginning, when you're filing the form 123 with the IRS wants your your articles of incorporation specifically say that you're a nonprofit. So you have to say public purposes, charitable, public and charitable purposes. So you can choose both, right? Specific purpose, help for example. And then here you can say if you intend to apply for 501c3, as I said, it's perfectly normal to be a nonprofit and not be exempt from paying income tax, right? So just because you're filing this, you're not automatically exempt from income tax. You actually have to file a pretty complex form with the IRS to get that status. Now, and then this one just says current date. So next, you can attach stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. This is extra. Here you will just sign. Once you sign, you will go ahead and pay the processing fee, and after that, you'll just file the document. Now, California takes, they've become much better with this. They only take a couple of days to approve it, but in some cases, it may take longer, especially if there are any discrepancies in the filing. But generally speaking, this shouldn't take too much time to get a nonprofit approved with your state. So once this is approved, the state will send you, either mail you or generate electronically the articles of incorporation for your nonprofit. Now, once you have that, second step will be to obtain an EIN number. Now, you need to obtain the EIN number before you get the 501c3 exempt status because you'll need your EIN number to apply for it. So this is important to understand, and you apply for an EIN number basically as a corporation, right? So just the regular EIN application as if nothing actually happened. Now, after you got your EIN number, the next step is to choose between the forms 123 EZ or 123. Now, both forms are to get that 501c3 exemption. Initially, there was only 123, and that form was very complex. And basically, if someone just wanted to build a small nonprofit, maybe helping someone in their neighborhood, in their community, they would basically have to go hire a lawyer, and that would be an unreasonably complex procedure, very expensive, and that would take almost 6 months to process, right? And also the filing fee was $600 as of the time of the recording, right? That's why IRS also offered the second option, which is 123 EZ, which is a much easier form, and generally most people are able to file by themselves, and the fee is only $275 as of recording of this video. So, however, there is a 30-question questionnaire that you have to go through, and you have to answer to all the questions no, to qualify for the easy form. So let's go over that eligibility questions. They can be found in the instructions to 123 EZ. So these are the questions, right? So the first question is, and this is probably most important one, right? Do you expect to receive your gross receipts will be $50,000 or more in the next 3 years? We're talking about the annual gross receipt, right? So if you expect to receive more than that, you will say yes, and that will disqualify you right away. But you say, let's say you're pretty small, so it's no. Your annual gross receipts have exceeded $50,000 in any of past 3 years, so you will say no if that's true. And another question, whether your assets exceed $250,000. So basically the point is, if you're large enough to have $250,000 in assets, then you probably have a pretty complex accounting structure, and IRS really wants to know more about your business structure, right? And also they assume you can afford to hire a lawyer to fill this out for you. If you were formed under a foreign jurisdiction, then obviously this disqualifies you. If you have a mailing address outside of the United States, that disqualifies you. If you are a successor, or you're controlled by, or you are suspended under 501p, suspension of tax exempt status. So basically it says of terrorist organization. So basically it says if you ever had a suspension of your exemption status, obviously you disqualify for filing the easy form. Now, if you're not a corporation or an unincorporated association or trust, if you're not that, you are disqualified, right? Are you formed as a for-profit entity? If you're formed as a for-profit entity initially in your state, that disqualifies you from filing this form. Are you a successor to a for-profit entity? If yes, disqualifies you. Were you previously revoked? Disqualifying. Are you currently recognized as tax exempt under 501A, or were you previously exempt? If yes, you have to file the wrong form. Again, all these questions, if you answer yes, doesn't mean you can't be a nonprofit. It just says you have to file a much more complex form. Now, if you're a church, right? If you're a school, university, or a college, if you're a hospital or a medical research organization, you're an agricultural research organization, if you want to be a corporate hospital service organization, I'm not even sure what this means. Are you applying as a cooperative service organization for educational organizations? Are you applying as a qualified charitable risk pool under Section 501N? So this has to do with investments. Now, obviously, there's a lot of scrutiny here. Are you requesting classification as a supporting organization to 509A3? And here there's a description of a supporting organization that's disqualifies you from filing the shorter form. Now, if you provide financial services, more like consulting services about finance, you must fill out the longer form. Are you going to invest in publicly traded funds? If it's more than 5%, then you have to file the longer form. Will you be part of partnerships? If you're selling carbon credits or carbon offsets, if you're a health maintenance organization, ACOs, donor advised funds, and public safety stuff. So classification as a private operating foundation. And then if you're applying for reinstatement, and if you're applying for retroactive reinstatement, and again, if you're a brand new corporation, obviously this doesn't apply. 29 and 30 don't apply to you, so don't worry about it. So you must answer no to all the questions. Now, if you answered yes to any of these questions, it means you need to file the longer form 1023. Generally speaking, it is not advised to file it yourself. You should hire a lawyer or someone who has experience doing it. So in this video, we'll go over the form 1023EZ because it's reasonably simple to file. It will not take us forever to show how it's done, and most smaller nonprofits can take advantage of that form. So it has to be filed online on the website called pay.gov. Now, once you go to pay.gov, you will look up IRS 1023EZ. And then streamlined application for recognition of exemption. You can click continue. Now, before we begin, we have to basically, it advises us to read the instructions. It tells us that we must have an EIN number. We can't use a social security number for that, even if it's an entity that qualifies to use the owner's social security. For the sake of this form, we need to get an EIN number. We're going to continue to the form. It looks like I have to sign in. Continue to the form. Now we have to acknowledge we have completed the eligibility worksheet, the one that we went over. Have your annual gross receipts exceeded $50,000? No. Do you have total assets exceeding $250,000? No. Now, full name of the organization. We put the address here. I'm just going to put a fake address. Counting month end in December. Send to contact, JO, telephone number. And then there's a $275 fee. You have to put the name of the officer. Or you can just say if there's a website, obviously put the website information. It's not happy with the EIN. And that's completely made up. Here we choose if it's a corporation. Choose when it was incorporated. Say it's today. It was in California. Now, 501c3 requires that your organizing document must limit your purpose to one or more exempt purposes with the section 501c3. So basically, this is what we went over when we did the the nonprofit articles of incorporation. It specifically asked us to list the purpose of the corporation, and it specifically said that we're not seeking profit. We have a much more limited scope. There are a few other questions we have to test. So now it's next. There's a response requirement here. Now briefly describe, help. Now this can be found in the instructions. You can open instructions. New tab, NTE. So let's say it's B90, just choose over here. You can say it's charitable. A few other acknowledgements. Now we can't be a church if we're doing the short form. Now this is an important question. So these are all types of 501c3. Don't get thrown off by 509A1. This is not going to affect your 501c3 status, but you have to choose one of those. So this is basically saying whether you're getting your support as gifts or grants or contributions or membership fees, or you're getting from public sources. So let's say we get from memberships. Obviously, this doesn't apply to us, the reinstatement. And here, now because there's a penalty and perjury statement, I cannot go any further from this. So, however, once this is done too, once you fill out the form, you can go to the payment page. You can pay with a credit card or ACH. You will submit it, you'll get a confirmation number, and if everything goes well, you should get your recognition within 2 to 4 weeks, but obviously in some cases it may take longer. And so you'll get an approval, and you're good to go with your 501c3 status. Now, don't forget to file the Form 990 annually. Even nonprofits have to file tax forms. This basically tells the IRS how your funds are being used. And that's pretty much it.